I'm just wondering where your head is before we get more specific. Have you ever considered a scenario like this before?
Well, not exactly like it is set up right now. Clearly, the longest shutdown I was involved in was in 95, 96 between the Clinton administration and a Republican Congress led by Speaker Gingrich and Senator Bob Dole as Majority Leader. At least during that shutdown, there was negotiations going on throughout between the leadership in the Congress and the President Clinton to work out a deal. So this is a little different here, where we don't have the negotiations, and this is much different than the past. Yeah. Further, this is a president who has looked at Congress, I think, and said, Congress, you've failed to do your job. You haven't passed a budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Quite frankly, Congress hasn't done the budget over 13 of the last 25 years. They have not gotten their appropriation bills on time. And so the president probably correctly says, well, if you guys aren't going to get your work done, I'll do it for you. And this is this unitary president theory that exists is creating this, well, when Congress doesn't do its work, creates the vacuum and then sets this up. So this is much different than the previous shutdowns that I've been involved in over the many years.
Well, listen to that from Bill Hoagland. Next time somebody says it's not different. I want to ask you about the nuclear option because the president keeps bringing it up, and I'm pretty sure as an institutionalist I know how you feel about this. Listen to President Trump from 60 Minutes on killing the filibuster. Here he is.
I think we should do the nuclear option. This is a totally different nuclear, by the way. It's called ending the filibuster. You know what? The Republicans have to get tougher. If we end the filibuster, we can do exactly what we want. We're not going to lose power. The theory is, oh, then we'll do it, but then when they get into power someday, they'll do it. That's true, but you know what?
So you think John Thune...
We're here right now. No, I like John Thune. I think he's terrific, but I disagree with him.
Boy, John Thune must have broken into a sweat when he heard that. Bill, this is a perennial argument around Washington. Nobody ever thinks it's really going to happen, but more folks suggest that the longer this shutdown goes on, that it could. Could John Thune be compelled to consider this?
Well, you mentioned, Joe, that I guess I would be considered an institutionalist going back a long way. And I don't think John Thune would be willing to consider this. Clearly, there's a reason why we have this mechanism that we have in terms of the filibuster. As I think you and I have discussed many times before, when our founding fathers set this system up, they set a system up of checks and balances. And that's not only checks and balances between the executive and the legislative, it's a checks and balance between the House and Senate. And it's that old story about how Jefferson wrote to Washington during when he was in Paris and asked, well, why do we have this House and that Senate? And the response coming from Washington was that in as you know, Tom, I guess he would have said, in Virginia, we drink hot tea, and we have a saucer, and the hot tea in the House is cooled by the saucer of the Senate. Yes, this is tough, but filibusters or 60 votes, supermajority votes are necessary to force compromise. And that's, well, we're not getting that compromise today. I still think it's important that we have that kind of a higher standard to pass major types of legislation. We have done away with the filibuster on a few items, particularly those as it relates to judges. Yeah. But on major legislative items, I think we still need to maintain the filibuster.
Donald Trump on Truth Social, terminate the filibuster, he writes, not just for the shutdown, but for everything else. We will get all of our common sense policies approved, in parentheses, voter ID anyone, and make America great again. He goes on to write, Bill, remember, the Democrats will do it immediately as soon as they get the chance. Do you believe that?
No, I don't. I think it would be, quite frankly, the opposite. If the Democrats would not want to have I think the Republicans would not want to have the Democrats do away with the filibuster, and so in that particular situation, the Republicans would stymie a filibuster. It's certainly a difficult issue, and certainly I can understand the president's position. We want to get things done. We want to get it done quickly. But this is Congress. This is a slow, deliberative process. I'm sorry it takes time to get legislation done. But this is a big country and requires a lot of deliberation, and it requires, at the end of the day, as Madison wrote in his Federalist Papers, compromise. We're
going to get the panel's take on this in just a moment, Bill. Before you leave us, do you have any gut check on how long this might go, and when do they need to write a new CR? November 21st is in a couple of minutes.
Certainly. I am of the mindset that if they were to open the government up, and my gut, who knows? But my gut is that we have another payday coming up for civil service on Friday. We have military pay coming up. Taking some pressure off of the SNAP program today is helpful, but that's only partial, as was pointed out by Tyler here. It is you're going to continue to keep the pressure going here. We're going to have problems, continued problems with the FAA air traffic control officers. And so I do believe that the pressure will mount such that we get some sort of a agreement maybe within the week or two here at the latest. That's my hope. And but who knows? This is a very uncertain time. And I've been told that there are there is negotiations going on. As Tyler had indicated, they are not with the with the leadership right now. But as soon as the president gets involved here, I do think we're going to be able to get this thing done and move on. But we'll probably have to pass another continuing resolution. Back in the spring, you and I talked about this, and I think the next continuing resolution will probably have to take us into early next year.